Welcome to another episode of the Hop Nerd Podcast. It is episode number 375. And today I want to talk to you about looking for success, interesting success, and success that you find in unexpected places. What does that mean? Let's talk about it! Welcome to another episode of the Hop Nerd Podcast. I am your host, Sam Goodman, the Hop Nerd LLC. Make sure you head over to the website, www.thehopnerd.com for fundamentals, learning teams, support, and so much more. Send us an email, thehopnerd@gmail.com, and be sure to follow along with us on all things social media at The Hop Nerd or at Sam Goodman. Welcome to today's episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Hop Nerd Podcast. Hello, howdy, hi everybody. I'm coming to you from the sunny and the beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, where we've had like heat waves, heat watches, all that stuff kind of absolutely going on. I mean, it's kind of late in the evening for me to be recording these. As you know, if you've been hanging around for more than a minute, it's usually like 4 a.m., so it's still kind of cool. But it's the opposite of that right now. It's like 5:09 p.m., and it is over 100 degrees outside. Currently, I'm ready for winter. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So yeah, I guess it's not even is what it is. It just is, I think, yeah. So welcome to the podcast. Today, I want to take a bit of a dive into what I tend to refer to as interesting successes, what we tend to characterize as success in interesting or unexpected places. What I'm just going to probably call at this point normal, everyday work. Yeah, that stuff that almost always goes right. Yeah, we're gonna get there. We're gonna unpack that stuff here in just a minute. But before we do me a huge favor. If you're not following over on LinkedIn, go do that for me. Go over and search Sam Goodman. You'll see this here ugly mug. And boom, just like that, you get access to all the wacky, wonky, funny, useful kind of stuff that I usually put over on LinkedIn. Yeah, right now, if you're not following, you might have not seen, but we're in the middle of a new reality TV show series. It's not really TV. I guess it's streaming. Is LinkedIn considered streaming? I don't know, but it features Daryl, and he started a new show called The Violation Hunter. Yeah, and it's just as wacky as it sounds. So if you haven't seen that, I think you'll get a little bit of a kick out of it. Plus just everything else over there. Yeah, there's all kinds of other pages you can follow there. But yeah, I mean, like the company page, the podcast page. Yeah, we do all that kind of sort of stuff too. But just Sam Goodman, find my ugly mug. Click follow. Yeah, send me a message. Let's chat. Yeah, it's a good time. As horrific as LinkedIn can be of just, that kind of mixture of like AI beige dribble of like, and guess what? It changed my life forever. Those 5 lessons I learned from having a cat. Yeah, that kind of crap that you get over there. There's definitely that. And there's definitely just boatloads of just people slinging mud and arguing and going, you're like, my way's better than your way. Well, why do you think that way? Because I want to sell people my way. Yeah, that thing. Yeah, all the kind of fighting that happens there. Yep, there's some of that. But it's mostly not that. I know I like complain and gripe and moan about that, but it's mostly not that. It's mostly what I just said. We get to send each other cool messages. How cool is that? Yeah, we get to have cool conversations. We get to organize meetups and hangouts and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so follow along. I guess other stuff to tell you, go check out YouTube. I post videos over there occasionally. Check out the website, thehopnerd.com. Gosh, what else is there? Check out the books over on Amazon. I'm going to hint something here that I'm working on a book. Now, I'm not going to say that it's coming out anytime soon. Because I just pushed out Aren't You Curious? If you haven't checked out that book, it is available over on Amazon. It's that focus towards becoming an operationally curious leader, a focus on doing that from a leader's perspective. It's a book from a leader about doing that stuff as a leader. So there you go. You can go check that out if you want to, plus 10 ideas and the original Safety Sucks and all the stuff that's over there on Amazon. Again, links on the website there too. But this one is not hop related. It's not safety related. It's none of that stuff. So I'm not going to exactly tell you what any of it's about. It's not a leadership book, even though I think some of the stuff in it really easily apply. Yeah. I'll let you know. But I'm just gonna tease that one. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave you right there on a cliffhanger. That something is likely coming out, and what I mean by likely is if I get to the end of it and I read it about 1,400 times, I'll go, I like it. And then it'll be out. In the meantime, you can check out those other books. You can check out the resources page on the website. Again, following along on all those different things. If you see that I'm going to be in your neck of the woods, drop me a note. If I've got a few seconds and you've got a few seconds, we can share those few seconds together, grabbing a cup of coffee or getting steak or doing all that kind of cool stuff. Just send me an email, thehopnerd@gmail.com. And last but not least, if you need a hand on your human and organizational performance journey. How do we say it? What's the one I put out there a lot? Again, I'm not good at the marketing stuff. It's something probably along the lines of if you want to begin or go farther on your human and organizational performance, call the Hop Nerd LLC. Yeah, and what I mean by that is if you need a hand, you know where to find me. Yeah, you know where to get me. Thehopnerd.com, or just send me an email and say, hey, Sam, I like what you got going on. I think you're going to like what we got going on. And we want to get something going on together. Let's do that. Here's something that we're looking at doing. We think you can help us. And boom, just like that. We'll throw some time on the calendar. We'll chat about it. We'll go back and forth through email or whatever. And next thing you know, like, boom, in a flash, I'm hanging out with you wherever it is that you find yourself. Yeah, working on this stuff. So go check out the services, all that stuff. And again, the easiest way to get on my calendar and make some cool things happen for me to come help you is just send me an email, thehopnerd@gmail.com. With all of that kind of rambly mess of sending you in all kinds of directions out of the way, let's jump into today's episode. Here we go. So, I'm not sipping on my cold brew today. I've got a miniature can of Diet Coke, which is not my preferred sugar-free beverage. I'm a Coke Zero guy. Like, I can't say that I love it, but I really, really like it. How about that one? I like it a whole bunch, but hold on. Yeah, cold brew's still better, but that kind of hits the spot in the late afternoon in which we find ourselves in. And I am recording these in the late afternoon because travel has been wild, y'all. Like, I've been in like California and then back to California and then to North Carolina and then to Tennessee and then back to California and then to New Jersey and then in Arizona to record a podcast and then back. Yeah. That's a good thing. There are a lot of organizations out there that I'm getting to spend time with. Awesome folk, getting to do amazing work with them in this space, from keynotes to advising to learning team stuff to workshop facilitation and far beyond. But it leads to Sam sitting here and not drinking cold brew with you first thing in the morning, but rather drinking a Diet Coke, talking to you while daydreaming about eventually having dinner at some point today about interesting successes. Now, this is a place where I spend a whole bunch of my waking hours, especially those hours that I spend with organizations. You know, in our worlds, we spend a whole bunch of freaking time focused on how things go wrong. I would dare to say that we're even biased towards that. What would we call that? An outcome bias? Yeah. That when things go wrong. Yeah, and a lot of that comes from things should never, ever go wrong. We have instant perfect total control over our work world. When you walk through our fences, it's a perfect world and nothing could ever go wrong. And if it goes wrong, it's because you didn't try hard enough. And because of the bad outcome, I know you didn't try hard enough. Yeah, it's kind of in that, at least through that Daryl lens, the lens of traditional safety. Yeah, but I always find it really interesting that as we spend time exploring normal, everyday, usually successful work, when we start spending time staring at that model of what we call normal, everyday, usually successful work, that we tend to use a whole bunch of black line, blue line, a couple really interesting things always start to stand out to me, especially when we start understanding that black line, blue line in real life, not like taking it off the sheet of paper. Yeah. Not just talking about it on a slide, but actually going out and seeking to understand that more, peering into operational reality. The few things that always stand out to me. Number one is what we said at the very beginning. It's almost always successful. Yeah, people almost always get it right. Turns out we're pretty stinking great at figuring stuff out on the fly and mostly creating success. Yeah, we mostly get it right and we occasionally get it wrong. Now, on that black line, blue line, we tend to spend a lot of time focused on that intersection point, right? Where that line, we discover that line with our zigs and our zags, and then boom, we've discovered that event line, right? We've created an event through our bad and adaptations. Yeah, again, talking traditional lens here. But we think about those events, right? We look at those events. We spend a lot of time thinking about that. But the place that I find us almost always just skipping right past, completely ignoring, for probably all the reasons and that we just talked about, are interesting successes. Yeah. So what do I mean by interesting successes? Successes. I'm going to get words out today. It's this 5 p.m. thing instead of 5 a.m. thing. It's screwing me up, y'all. I'm sorry, but I'm not editing. We're just running with this thing live. I think the way that I would describe this to you, and the way that I tend to think about these things, these interesting successes, and the way that I describe these with the folks that I spend time with is like this. Think about those places in that normal, everyday, usually successful work that exists all throughout your organization, where the people doing that work, they have to overperform the system of work, the environment, the context, the condition. They have to overperform your support as a leader, your support as an organization. They have to overperform to create success. Ding, 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 ding. Winner, 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 chicken dinner. That is what I would call it, interesting success. And we should be just as interested, if not more so, in interesting successes than we are in, oh no, that went wrong. For very, very good reasons. First, if you spend much time digging into normal, everyday, usually successful work, more than you spend time contemplating how you think work should happen while hiding in your office away from the people actually doing the work, you'll pretty quickly discover that those interesting successes happen just as much, if not more, than those, oh no, that went wrong. Those maybe interesting operational surprises, unintended operational surprises, as I've heard it put. Yeah, they happen just as much, if not more, than those. So just from a number standpoint, yeah, I think that they're worth looking into. I think that there's a really interesting idea of investigating success that we don't spend enough time talking about. And not only do we not spend enough time talking about it, but we sure as heck don't spend enough time actually doing it. If you walk into just about any organization on this planet, even those that will tell you we have done HOP for years, they're going to say, what the heck do you mean about doing success investigations or learning reviews around when things go right? Well, we got an observation card program, and that's close as we get to that, buddy. Yeah, it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen at all, really, unless it walks up and smacks us in the face, all right? When things nearly go horrifically wrong, we're good at that on the event side, and I guess that is technically pre-event because we were either lucky or good, so things didn't go all the way wrong, but they probably got a little too close for comfort, so we did spend a little bit of time thinking about that. But when the outcome is just normal work, or the outcome is, that went pretty stinking good, anything other than, oh my God, the outcome was insanely great. You did this in like a tenth of the time that this normally takes to do this, and you saved us $1 million. My God, and you invented an entire new product line. When it's anything short of that, we just go, good job. You did your job. That's all we need to know. You got the outcome that you are supposed to get. Pat on your back. 2 slices of pizza for you at this week's pizza party. Yeah, you corporate rock star. You. Yeah, all the stuff that we tend to throw in that way. And we just say, well, you just did your job. But there's a deeper story there. What about all the interesting successes, the things that people have to figure out and make do with? What about that story? That story that exists in normal, everyday, usually successful work. We know this as pre-event operational learning, something that you should be spending your time on. And if you're not, why not? Now, the pretty quick short answer to why not is because we ain't got time. And I understand that. Your resources, they are definitely finite. I understand. But we pretty quickly justify huge amounts of money, time, and resources we spent on learning from how things go wrong, even when they sometimes just kind of go wrong. Like, I'm not talking about the worst day ever. I'm talking like, oh no, we bumped into that thing and did the bumper on the truck end. We're going to have to spend $300 at the auto shop. Whoa. It was more than $299, you say? My God, this is going to put this event in another classification within our internal reporting procedures, which means that we need a 14-day root cause analysis. Corporate. Fuel the corporate jet. Everyone on. We're going all the way across the country to investigate how this bumper happened. Yeah, calendar suddenly clear. Corporate jets are fueled. People are descending on that location. Sometimes simply because someone backed into a bollard with the truck bumper, and then the bollard worked, so we protected the stuff that was behind it. Yeah, and but yeah, here we are, 14 days later. At least we got free burritos and some crappy coffee out of the deal for locking ourselves in this room. Oh, we do absolutely none of that. None of that. Not even poorly. Like, we don't even try to really do that on the pre-event side, unless it was just a glaring piece of success and often innovation. So what I'm really encouraging you to do here is to explore your work world and look for those times when things go exceptionally right. And these things are often hidden deep beneath the surface. It's not going to be like a big red flashing light and a woo, Bob nailed it. Yeah, this stuff is hidden, and sometimes hidden pretty deeply, because Bob, Jane, John, Jill, Susan, I'm just being inclusive here. They're just doing their job. They're just doing what they do, and they're not big dealing it. They're just out there kicking butt and taking names. They're GSD-un. They're getting shit done. Yeah, they're getting it done like they always do. And maybe they've been doing it so long that they don't recognize that the system is failing them there, that our level of support is failing them there. Or maybe they do, and they just don't want to be the squeaky wheel. That's just how it is. That's how it's always been. Man, it'd be a lot easier, but figure it out. Yeah, figure it out. That story is not just sitting there on top of the surface. You're not going to just walk out there with some Scantron sheet that tells you a little bit more about how old I am. Or pre-Scantron sheet when we had those little boxes we filled in on our observation cards, and then you'd have to hand to tabulate the data to put that into some trending graph. You're not just going to walk out there with your Scantron sheet or now your fancy behavior-based safety observation app and go, not wearing gloves? You mean you're adapting and creating interesting successes? No. What those things do is they encourage us to go out there and go, shame on you for not wearing your gloves. You should try harder. Yeah. Or we'll ask some dumb, like, half-deep questions like, well, are the gloves readily available to you? Were you trained on the gloves and the rule to wear your gloves? Well, if they're readily available, well, why don't you wear the gloves? Well, they're not comfortable. Well, I don't care. This was through our lean cost-saving initiative. We went to one pair of gloves, one size fits all. Yeah, and we'll do something like that. It's not just going to be sitting on the surface, and you're not just going to get there through some wonky form about whether people are wearing PPE and whether they're complying to the basic safety requirements of the job. The way you got to do this is you got to go out there and actually spend time with people doing the work, asking interesting questions, building those relationships, earning that trust from those nearest to the work, to where they will eventually share the good, the bad, the ugly, and the scary with you. They're going to tell you about those things. What I'm really saying is that you've got to go out there and be in curious learner mode, not as safety's here to teach everyone how to be safe, or I'm the leader here to lead. I possess all of the answers. I am the final authority. No, that shuts down that type of conversation. You kind of have to do the opposite. You kind of have to go out there with that novice mindset. Just, even if you know a bunch maybe about that work, approaching it as if you're green. And let those folks teach you. And somewhere in that journey, you tend to discover some pretty wildly interesting things while you're out there investigating normal, everyday, usually successful work, while you're out there looking for those interesting successes, as much as you are looking for those things where work is going wrong, you're spending time looking to see how people make work go right, even when it's supposed to go wrong. It doesn't get much more interesting than that. It doesn't get much more learning rich than that. And if I were to tell you, if it was, and it is not, so somebody's going to get on the internet and say, well, Sam said, and that's not it. So I'm going to put in the traditional safety person's trigger warning here. Right here. So traditional safety folks out there. Yep. This is your warning. This is not, I'm not telling you to do this. But if it were one of those choices where you had to choose one or the other, I would get rid of accident investigation. If I had to pick, if I had to say, you want to learn from pre-event, normal, everyday, usually success work, or do you want to exclusively learn from events? If I had to exclusively learn from one or the other, I'm picking the normal, everyday work, because at least it's not waiting until things go wrong. At least it's trying to be a little proactive. At least it's going out there and trying to explore how work goes mostly right and how it occasionally goes wrong, and listening for those faint signals and trying to understand where we have failure that hasn't happened, but it is actively happening, and how we're trying to give ourselves the opportunity to actually do something about that right now before we end up in the, oh crap, fuel the plane mode. Now, back to the trigger warning. The good news is you don't have to choose. You don't have to pick. I think you should use both. I think they're both valuable. What this big, long rant about here, and hopefully this rant is coming off as a little encouraging, you can do both and you should do both. Stop just focusing on when things go wrong. You can. You can go out right now. You can say, I'm tired of listening to this hop nerd lunatic talk about this stuff and yell into his microphone because he's talking at 5 p.m. instead of 5 a.m. and he's had too much coffee and he's just gone into a rant. Instead of doing that, you could just close this conversation right now, and you could get away from your computer if you are at work, and you could walk out there right now and just pick something, anything where you go, I think that'd be cool to learn more about, and go learn more about it. That's how you do pre-event operational learning. Now, I know that it's more than that. I get it. I understand, especially when we start thinking about how to do this sustainably over time. And even as individuals, the story gets a little more complicated, that's for sure.
Are you looking for a handy-dandy, easy-peasy, lemon-squeezy kind of way to get conversations flowing around operational reality within your organization? These conversations around work is done versus work is imagined, pain points, problems, even best practices, the good stuff, the great stuff. Well, Starting Points is exactly what you're looking for. Starting Points, the original operationally curious card deck, packed full of a ton of learning-focused, operationally curious icebreaker questions to get those conversations flowing, helping your organization to effectively learn, improve, and innovate. Head over to thehopnerd.com/SP to download our free sample deck, to purchase the original card decks and learning journals, or to inquire about licensing options so that you can customize Starting Points with your brand, your logo, and your questions for your specific organization's needs. Again, that's thehopnerd.com/SP. Back to the show.
So how do you make this possible? I found that it looks like this. You have to make it make sense, and you have to actually make it possible. What I mean by this is that I spend a lot of my time with organizations focused on exactly this: growing this curiosity, this pre-event curiosity, this pre-event operational learning. I spend a whole bunch of time helping folks get better at this thing that I've been yelling and screaming about. And making this pre-event operational learning work within an organization requires more than just logic, more than just evangelism. We have to first demonstrate its practical application. We have to show the benefits, many of which we've already talked about and more. I'm not going to sit here and beat the dead horse and explain to you the benefits of learning before things go wrong. I know the folks I'm talking to, you guys got that one down pat, but we do have to take that knowledge that we have and carry it into our organizations. We have to translate that abstract concept of, what do you mean? Learning before things go wrong. We do accident investigation around these here parts, bucko. Yeah, into tangible approaches and tactics. We have to weave that in to a bit of the fabric, the soul, the essence, that part of our organization, and really look at it as just kind of how we do business. We learn all the time. Of course, we learn when things go wrong, but why would we miss out on all that learning that we should be doing around that famous question of what's happening when nothing's happening? Because the answer to that question is almost always a lot. We shouldn't skip that part. We need to get in there. We need to root around in normal, everyday, user successful work, because in there, you're going to usually find some really interesting stuff. I think on to the one that's really important to us here, though, is we have to make it possible. Like, actually make it possible. What I mean by making it possible isn't going out and yelling at people like I'm maybe here ranting that, hey, you should go do that. The part that we have to do within our organizations, because the talking about it part, that's the low effort part. That's the easy part. The making it make sense is kind of easy. As we kind of said, we know the value. We know the value in being curious, learning, and doing that pre-event. We get that part. The part about truly making it possible is we have to put our money where our mouth is. We have to ask ourselves this question. How much do we really value pre-event learning within our organization? And more importantly, are we willing to demonstrate that value with real action, not just some hollow, empty, kind of crappy words? And this is the hard part, because what this means is we have to put our money where our mouth is. We have to allocate actual time, actual resources, actual people, actual support.
Looking for a way to enjoy nicotine pretty much anywhere, anytime? That's where our buddies over at Alp Nicotine Pouches come in. Pop one in, and you're good to go. No smoke, no spit, ick, no vapor, no problem. They come in a variety of amazing flavors, and they are amazing. I mean, I've tried just about every single one of these things out there in the market, and these are the absolute best. I'm a big fan of the Mountain Wintergreen. I'm an old school wintergreen fine cut kind of sort of guy. So yeah, I love the wintergreen. But just as much, I love this sweet nectar flavor that they have, this tropical fruit flavor that they have. Mwah! Chef's kiss. I have not tried one that I don't like. So if you want to try the best that's out there and you want to support the Hop Nerd podcast while you're at it, just visit our affiliate link at Alp Pouch. That's alppouch.com/the Hop Nerd. Now, I also have to tell you here that nicotine is an addictive chemical, and if you don't already use nicotine, you definitely shouldn't start using nicotine, all that kind of sort of stuff. But if you're like me and you were looking for a better way to enjoy a little bit of nicotine in your life, Alp is the ticket. Great tasting, smoke-free, and you get to support the podcast. Heck yeah, alppouch.com/the Hop Nerd. Back to the show.
This is where we have to go from all that kind of fluffy corporate empowerment talk to like actually empowering people. Yeah. So we know we're talking like time, resources, support, all that kind of stuff. People. Like it means like if you really value pre-event operational learning, let's maybe use a bit of a more formal learning team as an example where we're going, we really need to learn more about that. In some of our conversation, we discovered some pretty interesting things there, or people have brought up some really interesting issues, problems, things that they're having to figure out places where they have to over-adapt. It's getting weird over there. We're going to do a pre-event learning team. That means, yes, you actually have to bring some people off that line to be a part of that learning team. You can't go, but it means we're going to have to pull them out for an hour today and an hour tomorrow. How could this multi-billion-dollar organization ever afford that expense? It's that Tiger King meme. Oh, how will I ever financially recover from this? Yeah, you can. Trust me. Yeah, you can. You can't afford not to. It means you actually have to do that. You actually have to put your checkbook where your mouth is, where your words are. You have to take that fluffy empowerment word and actually use it and to mean actually empowering people. This is where we have to demonstrate that we're serious about doing this stuff and learning, not only after events, but pre-event, to show that we actively support this stuff. And this is usually where we lose it, because we fall back into that trap. Well, how will I ever financially recover from taking 2 hours per person to learn something and maybe keep somebody from dying? Can't we just wait till things go wrong? What this means is, yes, if you truly value pre-event operational learning, you will absolutely prioritize it with just as much focus, time, resources as you do at any other mission critical something in your business. It means that you will have to pull people from the production floor to learn from them. Yes, it means that you must allocate the time that feels impossible to find, the resources that seem maybe already stretched thin. Yes, it means that you have to create some space for reflection and experimentation, even with deadlines and projects looming on the yes. It means that if you don't, you have to answer that question, that one that we asked before. Do we really value pre-event operational learning? Your answer to that, if you don't do that stuff, has to be nope. Yeah, because if you're not willing to put your money where your mouth is, you don't really value it. You don't value it as some mission critical thing. You don't value it as absolutely 100% required. You value it as, if we ever get around to it, sure, well, maybe do them and that every now and again, only if everybody, if we got extra people and, plenty of time and the budget's got, a 20% surplus and, the stuff that never happens, which means this will never happen. It means you don't value it. So there you go. I mean, some basic thoughts, maybe a bit more of a rant today. It's the 5 p.m. thing, I think, y'all. I think that's what's really happening. But maybe let me get back to just a bit of a recap to maybe pull some of that rant together. Why would we only learn from when things go wrong? I mean, that's the smallest set of data in our organizations. We have a far greater pool of data on the how things go right side of the equation. And in that how things go right side of that equation, that massive amount of data that we just completely ignore, this massive amount of learning that we tend to almost always ignore, inside that set of information, you find even more interesting stuff. I'm a nerd. I think it's wildly interesting how things just normally go right, how people are just adapting their way through our work worlds and almost always creating success. That's cool enough on its own, but you want to talk about something that's even cooler. Are those places where people are creating interesting success, where they're over-adapting, over-performing our systems of work, over-adapting and over-performing our support as leaders and as organizations to create success, ... where there shouldn't be success, where things just logically should go wrong and go wrong all the time, but they don't because your people are amazing. We need to be learning there. The other piece of this that we talked about that's really important to highlight amongst that big, long, rambly rant is this is great to do as individuals, and it's something that you can go start doing right now. And I think you should go start doing it right now. Again, if you haven't paused this podcast, now is another great time. Just press pause, go learn something, come back and finish it. You're going to find something interesting if you just go out and start exploring normal, everyday, usually successful work through a curious ear, focusing on not being the knower of things, but the learner of things, right? The curious learner, doing all the stuff that we talk about around these here parts. But if you really want to make this sustainable, if you want to grow this operational learning, pre-event operational learning within your organization, focus on making it make sense and make it possible. The making it make sense part, this is where you got to translate it into something that people can actually do. This is pre-event operational learning teams. This is a shameless self-promotion here, shameless plug, using stuff like starting points or other stuff, whatever works best for your organization. But I'm here to tell you that a lot of people out there will tell you a starting point. It's it. Like thousands of people at this point will tell you that a starting point. Check this out, www.thehotnerd.com/SP. Okay, shameless plug over, but they are handy. That's not just me saying it. Using stuff like that to bake those conversations in, just kind of in the day-to-day rhythm of like normal work happening, doing all that kind of stuff, giving folks those those things, those tactical tools, making it make logical sense, sharing this understanding that you likely have, the power of curiosity, the power of learning from normal, everyday, usually successful work, this pre-event learning, how that allows us to at least maybe have the chance of tapping in to some of these faint signals of things going wrong before they go loud. So we at least have the chance of arresting failure in motion. It's telling that story. And it's also telling the story. So once you get out there and folks are doing some of this work, doing this pre-event operational learning, and we're finding stuff, and we're leaving things better than how we found them. And we're doing that together, a we thing, instead of me doing stuff for you or me doing stuff to you thing. When we're doing all that stuff, tell those stories and share those stories. Keep adding to that snowball until eventually it picks up some critical mass and it takes off on its own. Yeah, do that stuff. You have to do that part, that make it make sense part. But that part is the easy part. There's a plus sign in the middle of that. Make it make sense plus make it possible. We have to free up the time, resources, and people. We have to support people in this stuff. We have to show them that we prioritize it, that it is mission critical to us, that we value it just as much as we value anything else in our organization that is super duper stinking important to us. And the best way to do that isn't talking about it. It's by putting our money where our mouth is. Yeah, there you go. Quick chat about pre-event operational learning, and in particular, learning really deeply from those interesting successes within our work worlds. So there you go. Rambly rant, maybe strung it back together at the end with some key bullet points for you there. But if you've been around here for a minute, you know these happen every now and again. And I'm starting to see a bit of a trend here that they happen when I record these in the evening. And I'm amped up from the day. And I'm all pumped up on too many cold brews. And then I throw a Diet Coke on top of that. And I get froggy. I'm ready to go. Last but not least, again, if you need a hand, let me know. You know where to find me. You know the stuff that I do. And if you don't know the stuff I do, you can go check that out over at the website, thehopnerd.com. If you do want to think about getting your hands on starting points, go check them out. Just thehopnerd.com. Click starting points at the top. If you want to skip seeing my face and learning about all the stuff that we do and finding all those free resources and all that stuff, and you want to just say, screw you, Sam, I'm going straight to starting points, thehopnerd.com/SP. SP as in starting points. Yeah, thehopnerd.com/SP. And I want to encourage you, people post about these things on social media all the time. I kind of stumble onto these on LinkedIn all the time over there. Yeah, people don't tag. I mean, that's fine. People don't tag me. They're just out there using them, and I love it. I love seeing them pop up in workshops, seeing them pop up in the field. I stumble onto them at events and in organizations. I didn't even know we're using them when they call me and they're like, oh yeah, those are yours too. And that kind of stuff. Cause I'm a horrible person at promoting this kind of stuff. But when you see it pop up, message those folks, ask them how they're working for them. Yeah, go learn that story of how starting points are helping organizations right now do pre-event operational learning, all the stuff that we're talking about right now. In easy and sometimes even kind of sticking fun way, without having some big workshop something, without having to like laminate cards and put them around people's necks, without going out there going, pretty please use this stuff. You don't have to do any of that because they're helpful. They're useful. People like them. Yeah, because they were created with the people that actually wanted them, meaning that they don't suck. Yeah, go ask those folks. When you see those pictures, people sharing stuff of them out there, just give them a DM and say, hey, I seen you're using those. And I heard Sam on the podcast say, reach out to folks who are using these. How are those things? Or don't even say that. Just say, how are those things actually working for? Yeah. And there you go. Yeah. The value of starting points, I don't have to tell you. They'll tell you. That's all I've got. I'll see you on the next one. Until next time, that's it. Love you. Mean it. Bye. Thanks for listening, everybody. We greatly appreciate all of your support of the Hop Nerd Podcast and the Hop Nerd LLC. If you need a little bit of help of bringing human and organizational performance to life, if you would like to take your efforts around learning and improving to the next level, yep, I can help with that. Head over to www.thehopnerd.com or send me an email, thehopnerd@gmail.com. Until next time, bye, everybody. Bye.